Alright everyone, now we have to look forward to the 2022 midterms. Of course, I am predicting at this point, if nothing trajectory-wise changes, the Democrats will lose control of the House and the Senate. They'll probably lose a couple seats in the Senate, and I would think they'll have a narrow loss in the House, giving the Republicans 3 or 4 seat majority, maybe more than that. Structurally speaking, it's better for the Dems in the Senate, because some of the seats that are up, they're Republicans, and some of the seats that are up are solid Dem, and they don't have to worry so much. But there are enough vulnerable seats for them to lose the Senate by several. I think what people need to do, number one, if you're a populist, libertarian, anything like that, you need to get civically organized. Run as precinct captain or something in the GOP if you're a Republican or whatever. If you're an independent voter like myself, consider using billeting. You can do that legally in many places, using lampposts or whatever, telephone poles. Check your local laws and ordinances, of course, and state in some cases. If not, you can certainly go to the town hall or the library. They usually have a bulletin board, and you can post things up as long as it's not something obscene or the porn ads or something like that. And try to do everything you can. Knock on doors, get involved locally and at the regional level, not just online, and prepare to punish the Democrats massively in 2022. Now, there are several reasons for this. The first reason has nothing to do with me being libertarian, right-wing, or anything like that. I look at the current Democratic Party and say they are so far beyond, they've gone so far off the lemming cliff, I couldn't intelligently vote for them. Effectively, that turns the United States, for my purposes, into a de facto one-party system. Of course, I support the libertarians. I am a libertarian. The Libertarian Party right now is ailing, and there's an internal fight within the party between the Free State movement and the Mises people who believe in actual liberty, and the old guard LP higher-ups like the Johnsons and Jorgensens that use it as a piggy bank. They don't really care about liberty. They openly praise censorship. They openly praise mandates of various types. They're really not libertarian. They're not even classically liberal like me. In the I'm a pragmatist sense, I just want smaller government and less abuse and more of my own money at the end of the year. They're far beyond that. They basically sound like a bunch of liberals. They sound like Hillary Clinton some of the time. In fact, Jorgensen pretty much could have quoted Hillary Clinton in her views on Facebook censorship at one point. But you need to get organized and punish the Dems. And the first reason is because I would like the Democrats to reform their party, and the only way they're going to do that is if they get crushed. Obviously, the leftoid upswelling within the party is still quite limited. They're limited to 5 House seats, a couple of senators, a couple of governors. That's basically leftism within the Democratic Party, in the sense of socialism, social Dems, and groups like that. They're fairly small. The only thing that they're able to do is really fuck with Pelosi, and frequently do, the AOC crowd. It's funny to see her wear a dress that says tax the rich while she has, a 6-figure income and a penthouse, but we'll get beyond the hypocrisy for a moment. It's clear that the Democratic far left uprising has failed. The Justice Dems and people like that. In fact, they have their own internal schisms because, of course, it was all astroturfed. Remember when they threw Zhang Zhuger under the bus? He was mad about that. When the Justice Dems used him and his money and his voice to promulgate themselves and then quickly shoved him to the side and ignored him because he had sexist blog posts and shit like that, it didn't work for them because they're still id-pol leftoids. But here's what we need. A Democratic Party that suffers badly enough that the old leadership is gone and then can reform. Now, whether this takes the form of the Democrats turning into a further left party, turning into a business dem mansion JFK style thing, or something else, doesn't matter. At least it'll be different from the dross that it is now, with fewer neoliberal globalist war pigs promoting censorship and shit like that. That's number one. Number two, more basic morals and civics. The Democratic Party right now has embarked upon a campaign of almost scorched earth towards the U.S. economy, towards foreign policy. You've got blunder after blunder, and in part, I want to punish them for one very important reason. They are the ones that put Biden into the position that he's in right now to be steward because there was nobody else qualified in the field. They chose to do that. They ought to have known better. There were some people there that could have been taken kind of sort of seriously. It would have been more fruitful to let Hillary run again. honestly, at the end of the day. The other candidates were losers and leftoids. So you have Bernie Sanders, leftoid, Warren, leftoid and loser. Then you have a whole bunch of also-rans, Bloomberg actually managing to come in third place in a few states. My goodness, how crazy that is when Michael Bloomberg's actually briefly considered viable. The Democrats thought it was a good idea to entertain the idea of Avenatti running, and Cuomo. They're not making good decisions. They need to be punished as the result of this, partially to reform the party, and partially so that the population can tell them enough is enough. Cut it out. Do something positive for a change. $3.5 trillion in new spending at a time we ought to be throttling spending back and letting things stabilize is not a good idea. Hiding $3 trillion in new taxes in that proposal and proposing spying on everyone's bank accounts and destroying crypto by corporatizing it, that's nonsensical. Earmarking private projects for like Solyndra-style solar firms, which won't pan out in the long term, earmarking that as infrastructure, earmarking all this other shit as infrastructure. That's a lie. That's not the sort of thing the government needs to be doing. Now, this already happens anyway under former incarnations of government. It's not just Democrats, it's not just people on the left that are doing this. We need to say enough is enough. We need to start getting more civically active at the local level where possible, and for those with a voice, they need to speak out twice as fucking much. Also, organizing against censorship in general. Promote new tech. It's becoming more important in the political arena, just like old guard tech did as well. And that wasn't foreseen by the legacy media and legacy politicians. It took them a long time, you'll remember. It wasn't until 2012 they started dipping their toes into using sites like YouTube and Facebook for significant political purposes. Now every presidential address is live streamed everywhere that it possibly can be. So, and now Donald Trump's on Rumble. Imagine if he gets elected again, how popular that fucking platform will be when YouTube inevitably doesn't reactivate his account. Oh boy, will that be a fun day. You should be investing your time in alt tech. New tech, rather. Of course, the alt has been dropped now because it's no longer just an alternative. They need to be punished. So go register to vote. Some of you probably aren't. That's nuts. In some states, it doesn't matter. You can just get a mail-in ballot anyway. Apparently, in some states, you don't have to register to vote anymore, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Knock on some doors. If every one of you knocked on just 5 doors to explain the glory of not voting for the Democratic Party, oh boy, that would change a lot of potential votes. And then do it again right before the election as well. Put out a yard sign, fucking make a poster, do whatever you can. That's about all. Peace out.